The living conditions of illegal immigrants have now drastically changed. Enrique came from Mexico 17 years ago. He supports his wife and 2 children by cleaning the homes of white residents. Enrique had dreamed of someday casting off his illegal status and gaining U.S. citizenship. But now he's afraid he could be deported back to Mexico tomorrow. Enrique says illegal immigrants are contributing to the economy by doing jobs that most whites avoid. He says America should be more lenient because it began as a nation of immigrants. The family has rarely ventured outside their home since the law went into effect. Enrique is worried about his son, Gibran. Gibran was born in Arizona, so he has U.S. citizenship, but he's often subjected to verbal abuse just because he's Hispanic.
Leave isn't your country. You don't have rights and stuff like that. It's not their fault, but I'm sick of hearing all these things.
We're joined by Columbia University professor Thomas Edsall, formerly of the Washington Post and a specialist in U.S. politics.
Professor, thank you very much for joining us today. How fast and how deep is the negative sentiment towards the unauthorized immigrants in the United States right now?
It's become very deep and very intense, especially in the South and in the Midwest, places with high unemployment, and the South, which is generally more conservative. Many whites feel that their community, in many cases, is no longer sort of their own, the community that they grew up with that was overwhelmingly white. If you go across America, there are many, many small towns that have a business like a meat packing industry or big agricultural farms where they use many Hispanic laborers. And those towns have completely changed, that now the restaurant signs are all in Spanish. Things are no longer the same way. And the schools have to absorb a whole new population of people. Many of the kids don't speak English. It's a collision of 2 cultures almost.
Why have Americans, white Americans, begun to show their intolerance against the unauthorized immigrants at this time? Does the economy play a big role in this sort of sentiment?
With a stagnant economy like we have now, it makes people very scared. And people are really wondering, especially middle-aged, 50, 55-year-old people who've lost their jobs, are really wondering whether those jobs will ever come back again. And it's a huge fear among many people. The people who are having real trouble tend to be what in this country we would call the working class and lower middle class. Those people are really worried that with the global economy, the work they did will be shipped overseas for cheaper labor, and they will never see an opportunity again to get back into the workforce. That makes for much more tension, anxiety, and a lot of anger at immigration.
So are you saying that this has become a strongly racial issue in the United States?
Well, yes. It's not quite as hostile as the animosity to black Americans was, say, in the 1950s and in the 1960s in the South. Right. Many Americans feel they do not share the same kind of values and the same way of organizing society and the same kind of belief in free enterprise and free markets that the current white majority holds dear to its heart.
The surge in anti-immigrant sentiment in the U.S. is shaking the administration of President Barack Obama. The president made a campaign pledge to Hispanic voters that he would work to open the way to the legalization of illegal immigrants.
And I will make it a top priority in my first year as president, but I can't do it on my own. I need your help. This election could well be decided by Latino voters.
About 40 million Hispanics are U.S. citizens. Many have family members living in the country illegally. They had high hopes for Obama. They want to see legislation like that which was signed by President Ronald Reagan in 1986, which granted legal status to immigrants living in the country without proper documents. It gave citizenship to 2.8 million people. But since taking office, Obama